Hello everyone, and welcome back to True Crime Mysteries. Today we have our October Crimes of the Month. In our Crimes of the Month, we cover updates from previous cases, notable crimes covered in the news, and crime-related things that happened that month. As always, your friendly reminder to please give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and subscribe if you haven't already because I make more content like this. But with that being said, let's get into it. First off, lots and lots of people said they wanted a deep dive into the Murdaugh stuff. If you haven't seen it yet, I did that deep dive and I will link it in the description if you missed this. After this, I will keep all updates here in the Crimes of the Month videos unless there is a lot of new stuff to come out. Thank you all for your feedback and don't forget to check that video out. The first update is that there's a team who have said that they have significant evidence that has led them to believe that they've discovered the identity of the Zodiac Killer. Now, the mainstream media really took that and ran with it. Based on headlines, you would think that this was a done deal. But you know how we roll in this channel. We roll with concrete facts, not speculation. I put out a quick little article on Medium that I think this is premature. First, the man is dead, and it is now his family that has been caught up in this media blitz. It also isn't the first time what essentially is a theory has caused a huge media uproar only for that person to be eliminated as a suspect. In fact, it isn't even the first person Case Breakers, the group who made the newest identification, has accused. For those that don't know, the Zodiac Killer is an infamous serial killer from the Northern California area who has been linked to at least 5 murders from 1968 to 1969. He gave himself the name Zodiac Killer and sent several cards and letters to media outlets, including 4 ciphers. He claimed in those letters that he has 37 victims, but because of how he killed, it is difficult to link him to other victims. So the group that believes they have identified him are called Case Breakers, and they're a group of retired military, law enforcement, legal professionals, and forensic specialists that solve cold cases. They currently have over 40 members and work on a wide variety of cold cases. I'm going to refer to the man identified as Suspect A because I don't really want to add to any speculations, and I also don't want to bring more attention to a family that may have nothing to do with this. Why they think they have identified Suspect A is based on the following evidence. Suspect A was an Air Force veteran and wore a similar sized shoe that may have been left by the Zodiac. There was also a broken watch found at one of the crime scenes that was military issued. They were also able to spell out this man's name using one of the ciphers, and he has a scar on his forehead that appears to be consistent with the police sketch from a surviving victim. Suspect A died in 2018 at 80 years old after suffering from several medical issues for many years. Now, as much as I would like to have this mystery solved as well, it isn't a lot to go on forensically. The FBI has announced that they do not believe this man had anything to do with the Zodiac Killer and have stated the case is still ongoing. Despite this, this man's photo and name are still being continually pushed in the media, while investigative journalists are diving into anything they can find. In my opinion, it's irresponsible knowing how many people consume news articles and don't read the full articles, and many people are walking away thinking that this is a done deal. But that's my 2 cents. If anything new comes about this, or there are any new revelations or anything like that, I will let you know. As I was finishing up this video, I was alerted that there was an update in this case. We got an announcement from the Mariposa County Sheriff, Jeremy Bryce, and a cause of death was determined for the deaths of Jonathan Garish, Ellen Chung, their 1-year-old daughter, and their dog. Over 30 law enforcement agencies reviewed the case, ruling out murder, lightning strikes, poisoning, drugs, and suicide, and the cause of death was determined to be hyperthermia, a condition where a person's body temperature gets excessively high due to extreme heat and humidity. They determined that the family had likely run out of drinking water and temperatures soared to 43 degrees Celsius or 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and the family was ill-prepared for the extreme heat. The trail had been a very popular hiking area, but in recent years wildfires had devastated the area. The 8-mile loop had very little shade, and though they'd set out quite early, it was already pretty warm when they started, and by the time they got halfway through the trail, the temperatures had already skyrocketed. The family had a 2.5-liter water bottle with them, but it was discovered completely empty. The family made a statement through the sheriff's office saying, "Some questions have been answered, and we will use this information as a way of helping us come to terms with the situation. Our hearts will never forget the beautiful lives of Jonathan, Ellen, Miju, and of course, Oski. They will remain with us wherever we go." This case is super tragic, and my thoughts and prayers are with the family at this time. Police forces across Britain are being asked to review their security arrangements for all members of Parliament after Sir David Ames was attacked and stabbed to death while holding a small community event at his church on October 15th. The 69-year-old MP had been serving as a Conservative since 1983 and is the second PM to be murdered in 5 years while holding similar events. Boris Johnson, the current Prime Minister and Conservative leader, put out this statement.
Well, their investigation.
The attacker was arrested and is currently in custody. What is currently known about the attack is that it was carried out by a 25-year-old male, possibly a British national, and it is being described as an act of terrorism. The murder weapon was recovered at the scene, and police are saying the man acted alone. Interestingly, because gun laws are so strict in Europe, we don't often see gun violence. However, stabbings are on the rise. MPs generally hold meetings to get an opportunity to speak with their voters and people in the region they represent to hear about local issues. These meetings usually take place in common areas such as church halls or rented out spaces. Calls have been raised to offer more protection to elected officials, similar to what is offered when they meet at Parliament. Amos wrote a book in 2020 about the public and online harassment he had been receiving, saying, "These increasing attacks have rather spoiled the great British tradition of the people openly meeting with their elected politicians." Amos was one of the longest-serving politicians in the House of Commons and is survived by his wife and 5 children. I think this is super heartbreaking. No matter where you lean politically, this is horrible. My heart goes out to the families and colleagues of Sir David Amos in what I'm sure is an awful time. On October 13th, a man was arrested for assaulting a woman while on a Philadelphia train. The attack had lasted a total of 40 minutes and was only ended when an off-duty employee of the train intervened and called for law enforcement. The victim, an unidentified woman, said that she boarded the train around 9:15 p.m. She was intoxicated and alone. She became aware she was on the wrong train and was attempting to orient herself when a man she didn't know came and sat beside her. She had asked the man for help, and he was able to push her to an area with fewer people around. The man is seen on surveillance grabbing and groping at the woman while she was trying to push him away. For 40 minutes he harassed her, and despite there being several witnesses, no one helped. The attacker was 32-year-old Fishton Noy and was arrested at the scene by police. Noy was charged with rape, involuntary deviated sexual intercourse, sexual assault, and assault. It has also come to light that Noy was not an American citizen. He came to the US in 2012 on a student visa, and his visa has been expired since 2015. He is a Congolese national and has had several convictions, including one for sexual assault in 2017 in Washington, D.C. He had been scheduled for deportation following his arrest in 2017, but had been released when a parole board found that his crime hadn't warranted his deportation. Surveillance shows that at least 2 witnesses may have recorded the incident on their cell phones. The victim was seen very obviously attempting to get the man away from her. It is disheartening that this very preventable attack happened. police are still asking for what they estimate to be about 10 passengers to come forward with any information. They are also urging people to be vigilant and to call 911 or the non-emergency line if they see anything suspicious or criminal in nature. It was 4:30 a.m. on October 20th at the Chevron gas station in Arizona when surveillance captures two individuals dressed in black entering the gas station. One of the individuals that entered was brandishing a weapon and attempting to rob the establishment. What the suspect didn't know was that as he entered, he walked past a customer in line. That customer just so happened to be a former Marine Corps veteran, who was able to disarm the suspect within 8 seconds. The vet was able to detain the individual until law enforcement was able to arrive and arrest them. The other suspect fled the scene and is still at large. The suspect that was arrested was determined to be a minor, and they were booked into the Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center. The investigation is still developing, however, there were no deaths or injuries. Law enforcement applauded the veteran's ability to de-escalate the situation in a way that led to no one getting hurt. So we have another story out of South Carolina. I don't think I've ever talked about this state so much. Is it becoming the new Florida? 27-year-old Victoria Weiss Farish was arrested when it was discovered that one of her students had a package of stoner gummies, a high-dose THC edible product. The student had the package confiscated, and when they were asked where they had gotten it, they said it had been a prize from their teacher. According to the student, they had picked a different candy initially, but Miss Weiss had taken it away and told them to grab another one. It was an after-school program caretaker that had discovered the error when the student requested help opening the package, then alerted senior faculty at the elementary school. The assistant principal checked the classroom and discovered another package of cannabis gummies and called law enforcement. A search warrant was issued, and deputies discovered that Weiss's home had similar products there. She was arrested and charged with possession of a Schedule I drug, as cannabis edibles are not legal in South Carolina. She allegedly stated that she got the candy from a mixed bag at Dollar General. However, it does seem that she knew there was a mistake when she asked the student to pick another packaged candy. No students ate any of the edibles, and Weiss was relieved of her position as an elementary school teacher. She has a pending court date that hasn't been scheduled yet. I just want to know how this happened. I'm not judging people who partake in cannabis products, but how did they end up at school and in a candy prize bin for students? I am just so confused. This is so irresponsible. Continuing on the subject of irresponsible, 47-year-old Shannon O'Connor was extradited from Idaho back to California. She had been arrested following several teens coming forward about what had happened at O'Connor's Los Gatos home in California. The mother of two teen boys is being accused of organizing several wild parties and small gatherings at her home. At these parties, Shannon would buy alcohol for the young teens and encourage them to engage in sexual acts, sometimes even watching. Shannon used several Snapchat aliases and generally used the social media platform to communicate with teens. Shannon would foster inappropriate friendships with some of the girls and use them to recruit others to come to these parties. The victims have reported disturbing accounts. Many girls were sexually assaulted, and one girl was severely beaten by a boy. O'Connor encouraged this and would even bully and harass teens if they refused. A parent stated that Shannon would coach her daughter on what to say and do to sneak out of the home at night to attend these gatherings. They noticed that after their child had attended one of O'Connor's events, that their daughter started regularly lying, consuming alcohol, and generally being more secretive. They went through their daughter's phone and found hundreds of messages their daughter was having with Shannon. As they came forward with their story, more and more parents came forward saying that their child had spoken up about being victimized at one of O'Connor's parties. One mother said, We were really all fooled by the cool mom thing. Looking back, the red flags were there.
I'm shocked. I can't believe somebody would do this to the kids. You know, they're not adults. Even you shouldn't do this to adults too either. Why do this to kids?
When deputies arrived to arrest O'Connor in Idaho, where she had recently relocated with her sons, there were a dozen teenagers at the home. O'Connor had been charged with 39 charges, including felony child endangerment, child molestation, sexual assault, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Her husband has not been charged in connection, and their children have been removed from their custody. Their Los Gatos home has been recently listed for sale for $4.7 million. Shannon O'Connor also has 15 protective orders protecting victims and one of her children from being contacted. Shannon is also facing several criminal fraud charges following $120,000 in unauthorized charges to her company's credit cards. She had been working as an administrative assistant for Aruba Networks. Her company card had been used to purchase limousine rentals, clothing, and alcohol deliveries. She faces 20 years in prison if convicted on all accounts, and was denied bail as the judge felt she was likely a flight risk and posed a threat to the public. Let me know if you guys are interested in hearing more about this case. At this point in time, it looks like there may be a trial going forward. Is it just me, or are these stories just getting more and more bizarre the more we do them? For our last story, we have a Massachusetts man who has been found to have fraudulently gained hundreds of thousands of dollars in COVID relief benefits and then tried to fake his own death to avoid going to jail. Spoiler, it didn't work. David Stavely is the first person in the U.S. to be charged with defrauding the government from COVID relief loans that were set aside to help small businesses. 54-year-old David Stavely and his accomplice David Andrew Buetziger claim to own 4 businesses in Rhode Island with dozens of employees. The pair submitted applications and received nearly $550,000 in funds shortly after the small business loan program was announced. The program was put in place to help small businesses stay afloat and keep their employees on payroll, but upon an audit, it was discovered that the 2 men had used businesses that they had no affiliation with. 3 of them had closed during the pandemic. Apparently, a concerned citizen came forward and tipped off law enforcement while the applications were still pending. Both men had been arrested in May of 2020 and were released while awaiting court proceedings. Weeks later, it was discovered that Stavely had cut off his electronic monitoring device, left several suicide notes with family members and those who had worked with him in the past, and left his vehicle unlocked near the ocean. Despite the appearance that he had committed suicide, those closest to him believed it was very unlike him, and an investigation began to look into his disappearance. He was located in Georgia on July 23, 2020. He had used several different aliases, stole license plates, and had used multiple cell phones to evade detection. Stavely had served 2 separate convictions in federal prison for stealing $284,000 from a minor league baseball team and committing mortgage fraud in New Hampshire. Upon his recapture, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bank fraud, as well as failing to appear in court. This month, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 3 years of supervised release. Buetziger also pleaded guilty to all charges of conspiracy to commit bank fraud, and his sentencing date is on November 1st. Well, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on topics they wanted to be covered this month. I can't always see comments, so if I don't respond to one of your comments, feel free to email, tweet, or DM me on Instagram, though I don't check my Instagram super often. Anyways, as always, please give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. If you've done all that and want to support me and the channel, we have channel membership as well as Patreon to get early access, members only content, and more. We also have merch and other goodies in the description box, as well as links to all my socials. But until then, I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.